Hello guys, my name is Isaac, simple and real. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Kindly, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, like and share. This is a channel where I should talk about issues concerning averting HIV and sexually transmitted infection stigma in our society. And we usually say that being positive about HIV is not necessarily being HIV positive. Thank you. Today, allow me to talk about various classes of ARV drugs. In my previous video, I was able to talk about phases of HIV life cycle, and we are able to talk about 6 phases of HIV life cycle. Now, concerning HIV management, we also have 6 main classes of ARV drugs, which are also subdivided depending on where they work. So you might find that phase 1 has at least 4 classes of drugs, but they are intended in one role of phase 1 HIV management. Phase 2 has also 2 classes of drugs are also directed to management of phase 2. Then phase 3 has 1 class of drug directed to that, and like that and like that. Now, allow me to start with the phase 1 of HIV life cycle, which is also called the fusion phase. Now, during fusion, we have at least 4 classes of drugs that are directed towards preventing the fusion of the HIV virus into the CD4 T lymphocyte cell. For, as I had said earlier in the previous video, HIV transmission entails 2 kinds of cells. Number 1, we must have the HIV virus. Number 2, we must have CD4 T lymphocyte cell. This is an immune cell which is very responsible to the acquiring of HIV virus inside your body. It's a very important cell to the acquiring or to the virus getting its access into the human body. So what happens during phase 1 or during the fusion stage? Number 1, as I had said earlier, the virus gets its access into the CD4 T lymphocyte cell using its glycoprotein projections to fuse itself or to invaginate itself into the CD4 T lymphocyte cell receptors and co-receptors. Now, for us to prevent this kind of fusion, we have a drug that intervenes the fusion, which is in the class of drugs we call fusion inhibitors. Example of fusion inhibitors, we have a drug called enfavitate. Now, the HIV virus glycoprotein gets its access to the lymphocyte, CD4 T lymphocyte cell, using the receptor and co-receptor and co-receptors of the cell or the CD4 T lymphocyte cell. Now, to intervene in the reception of the virus glycoprotein, we have a drug called maraviroc. From there, if the attachment has already taken place and the HIV virus DNA material, which is now the RNA strands, have not been released inside the human CD4 T lymphocyte cell, we have a drug that is called post-attachment inhibitor, which prevents the release of the DNA material inside the CD4 T lymphocyte cell. Example of post-attachment inhibitor, we call them ibalizumab. That is an example of this class of drugs. From there, we have another class of drug which we call capsid inhibitor. This one prevents the attachment of the virus capsule to the CD4 T lymphocyte cell. An example of capsid inhibitors, we have a drug called lenacapavir. If the intervention is not met at this point, the cycle moves on. The HIV life cycle moves on, and we go to the second phase of HIV life cycle. This phase we call the reverse transcription phase. Now, at this phase, we have two classes of drugs which we use in this class, in this intervention, or this kind of intervention. We have the non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase enzyme inhibitor, and we have the nucleotide reverse transcriptase enzyme inhibitor. They inhibit this enzyme called reverse transcriptase. Examples of non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase enzyme inhibitors, we have the drugs like doravirine, nefavirenz, etravirine, rilpivirine, and nevirapine. Examples of nucleotide reverse transcriptase enzyme inhibitors, we have abacavir, lamivudine, zidovudine, tenofovir, and emtricitabine. This class of drug is also called the backbone in HIV management. Why are they called the backbone, this class? The reason is because their molecule must be used in every regimen that is to be formed for the purpose of HIV management. So you must use this class for you to make a regimen for HIV management. From this phase, if the intervention is not met at this phase, we move to the next phase, which we call the integration phase. Now, for the integration phase, we are preventing now the already formed DNA virus, or the DNA HIV virus, from getting its access into the CD4 T lymphocyte cell nucleus and fusing or getting integrated with human DNA in the chromosomes. Now, for us to prevent this from happening, we have drug interventions. Example of drugs which interfere with or prevent this phase, we call them the integrase enzyme inhibitors, or other people call them the integrase strand transfer inhibitors. Example of these drugs or INSTI, we have the dolutegravir, we have the CARBOTEGRAVIR, we have the raltegravir, and then we have another drug that we call bictegravir. These are just examples of drugs which are used as integrase enzyme or integrase strand transfer inhibitors. Now, if the intervention is not meant or properly met at this point, we jump the fourth phase, and which we also call the assembly phase, and we move to the next phase of management, we move to the assembly phase, whereby a protease enzyme is used. Protease enzyme is used to break down the long chains of messenger RNA to short chains of messenger RNA. during the assembly phase. And these short chains of RNA, of messenger RNA, remember, they are used they are combined with the RNA strand to form the viral particle. So for us to prevent the formation of a virus particle, we have the protease enzyme inhibitors. Example of protease enzyme inhibitors, we have the drugs like lopinavir, ritonavir, atazanavir, darunavir. These are just but examples of protease enzyme inhibitors. Are we together up to this point? Thank you, guys. So these are just some of classes of drugs that we use during HIV virus management. If you have any other kind of question, any other kind of clarification that you may like to add it, please drop it at the comment section. If you have something else you'd like us to add or to discuss in this channel, please feel free to drop it at the comment section. Thank you. My name is Isaac, Simple and Real, and remember that being positive about HIV is not necessarily being HIV positive. Thank you, guys.